recently
Apologies.
where they've been looking for people with experience of, deploying the technology. And I think that's the opportunity for interims, is around that deployment of technology. But not many people have that experience. So I think there's a lot of upskilling that you can do and learning that
Yes.
you can do, would be my advice. I think overwhelmingly, because everyone's on a sort of similar level field at the moment. There isn't one person that's got, huge amounts of experience of deploying this technology at the moment. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Helen. I think you need to take it back a step as well, because AI is not new. People think it is, but AI has been around for over 20 years in certain companies. So you look at an example like Unilever, that they've been using AI and BI for many, many years to identify customer trends, even for their finance department. So it's not new. And it's a bit like when everybody started talking about moving to the cloud. Every organization jumped on the bandwagon and went, oh, we've got to move to the cloud. Now, most boards didn't even understand what that meant. They just thought, oh, our competitors are doing it, so we need to do it. So I think that's the key differentiator to start with, is that it has been around a long time. What has come in now, which is I suppose the bigger question, is Gen AI. So AI is where somebody puts together an algorithm and it goes out to the web, finds information and brings it back to you. Gen AI is very different, because what that does, it thinks for itself. So it learns from what is all currently out on the internet, and then starts to create its own thoughts, potentially, and information.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's I suppose the scarier bit, that people go, oh my God, what does that mean for me as an individual? What does that mean in the workforce? Is that going to have an impact on my job?
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely it. And what's people's feelings then? Do we see, if we say Gen AI, for example, do we see it as it's a benefit? It's going to enhance people's jobs, enrich people's jobs? Is it a split between? Is it going to be different between white collar and blue collar? How do people feel in terms of the job market?
I think for interims at the moment, as Helen pointed out, first of all, we're just on the forefront of that. So most organizations don't even have a chief data officer at the moment. So that's a space where interims are starting to move into. And there's a whole then argument about where they sit. The majority of people that I'm placing report into the CEO. So they have nothing to do with the CIO, apart from they generate the reporting for the CDO. So first of all, that's where this individual potentially will sit normally, is into the board and CEO. That then has the question around, you need to build a team. So again, that's where interims can come into that team as well. And it depends on how technically savvy you are. You can become, a data scientist or reporter. But it does depend if that's your interest. If not, then absolutely, as you said, Mike, there is the opportunity currently for interims. And the whole point of Gen AI, yes, is to enhance performance, and whether that's through the back office, which is obviously the key area, where it can have impact straight away, which will have impact on individuals.
Yeah, and I think again, in my world, is technical change, whether it's in finance arena, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales. is always this question of, do we merely automate? Do we merely transfer? Or are we actually looking to transform it? So Gen AI offers that transformation side of things. But I think there's a strong argument for automate. The more routine tasks, which can be done through AI rather than Gen AI, in order to upskill or at least allow people in the business to move to more enriching jobs. Because I still see in some clients, even large clients, this rekeying. It's been electronic somewhere else in the organization, but then it ends up in my area in finance, and I'm seeing a rekeying exercise going on. I'm thinking, well, it's already electronic. Capture it, make use of it. But I think one of the things, and again, this is because us as practitioners, personally, AI will not replace people. Well, not probably for another 5,000 years, and I might still be around to check on that. But it's not there. But one of the key things is to keep asking questions. And I think, and when I work with businesses, always say, yes, we know this is how it was done yesterday, this was how it was done last year. But the benefit to businesses growing and becoming more successful, always through their people, is to question things. So as long as people don't get lost on the idea that, oh, Gen AI is here, it has all the answers. Gen AI, and there's research on this, makes 3% mistakes, 2.8 to 3% mistakes. Now, they could be catastrophic because it's called the hallucination effect. You believe it. It looks so right. And then people could run away and make massive decisions on that. Yeah. So I think the key thing for us as professionals, certainly in the world of interim, is not lose sight of the fact that question it, make use of it, absolutely, but always be there and be aware to question.
Well, I think it requires a higher degree of pragmatism, doesn't it? I think your attitude towards it, because it is, like you said earlier, it's AI is not new because people have been automating. There's AI, and like you said, there's Gen AI, and people have been automating for years. And data is growing and growing, and obviously, the macroeconomic climate that we find ourselves in at the moment, people are looking at how they can make their customer experience better to make themselves more competitive. And I've got two examples of, a client that I'm working with at the moment. They're looking at how they can implement Gen AI. And you talked about the difference between blue collar and white collar workers and what that means to businesses. And this particular client, they've got a contact center, obviously, where their customers call up with queries. Mm-hmm. And they're not looking to use Gen AI to get rid of people. They're using it to actually enhance the customer experience and the customer journey. So they can actually reduce the kind of call times that people are on the phone, and therefore, obviously, that increases their sales. They're PE-backed business as well, and the PE firm has got access to lots of data, so they want to use that. They can increase their sales, so they're looking at how they, got Gen AI solutions that can do that as well. So I think it's not right now, like you say, 5,000 years, it might be different. It could be Terminator, who knows, right? I am being flippant, of course, but it's there to complement and enhance, not to replace. Naturally, I think there will be some roles which will kind of maybe perhaps change or be removed, but look, that's the same when you outsource or you offshore or what have you. The dynamics and the landscape always changes, right? I mean, and the other point is like you say about the 1%. Well, sorry, I forget how many percentage of mistakes. It's
just under 3. Yeah.
I work with a data company, and they do a lot of they mine articles for their customers to find references of what they do is largely what they do, and they found that AI is great for them to get the actual references, but not to write the content, because when the AI writes the content, you can tell it's generated by AI, can't you? And the mistakes, we've all seen it, right? We've all seen where the mistakes come in. So there's places that you can use and complement it. And so therefore, as an interim, I think that's a really interesting, platform to sort of start talking to your clients about and start advising them about and kind of getting them in the headspace. Because all day, for example, you work with SMEs, this might be something that's not even on their agenda, but could completely enhance their business, right? you know, and I think that's the opportunity for interims, isn't it, to say, look, I don't have all the answers, but what I can do is, you know, I transform organizations and help them go through this journey so we can go through that together.
Absolutely. No, that's tremendous. And I think the key, certainly I feel, for interims, we are fresh eyes, people would think, and the ability just to sort of say, I know it was done that way. I mean, I worked in corporate as an FD, and I lost sight on a solution. I just ended up fixing the sticking plaster before it hit a customer. And I did that regularly every month, and I thought I was a hero until somebody came along and actually killed it, you know, and I thought, it's time to move. But I think that the thing to do, the thing I'm pleased with is if there's a feeling it will enrich, you know, some of the more mundane tasks where people are just saying, oh God, this is not exciting, I'm not fulfilled, and I have my fun when I check out at 5, 6 o'clock at night, you know, allowing people to say those roles, those jobs are being taken care of, but it does not mean that you yourself have gone, you've got an opportunity to move somewhere else in the organization. And I think it gives that. But what would you, Aldo, what would you say were the disadvantages? If we talk about Gen AI, I guess, because that's where the hype seems to be around at the moment, but, or anybody, what do you feel are the disadvantages at the moment, apart from the potential slippages of the 3%?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you, I don't know, yesterday I was talking with a customer that is improving, working on a project, how to improve the reliability on providing mortgage. And, you know, probably apply all we said about this Gen AI, where, I mean, now is even further, but, you know, compare, and probably the person that was assessing if you qualify or not for a mortgage, maybe in a future not too far will lose his job or her job, because probably, and I believe this probably is an inevitable impact but probably is an inevitable impact anyway of the progress, because it would have happened probably regardless of the AI. Where I see, and specifically for the interim, is, as I said, for me, interim is all about we sell experience, our experience, so that we can advise better the customer in different situation to come up with a different solution. Where I see is that could be a bit of a confusion in, you know, maybe a machine can do a job better than somebody that has been in hundreds of battles. And usually it's, I don't provide only science. I have to combine the science with the experience, the art. And there I think if we rely only on the machine, probably, or on the Gen AI, probably there is a risk that this 3% will become much bigger. That is, I would say, is something that probably could become attractive for customers. Say, okay, I don't need any more somebody that come and I can do it this way. At least at the status where we are today, I see this not mature enough, but could be some things that could, and obviously will not improve the situation, because at the moment I don't see the development yet at this stage.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah,
Penny,
just carry on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, from that, Aldo. A couple of the banks that we work with, they're trying to put in Gen AI into, as Helen said, the call centers. And the one big issue they've got at the moment is it doesn't understand sentiment. So they gave me a very good example on that, where they had a very upset customer on the phone that couldn't afford to continue paying their mortgage, and because it was with a AI bot, and this individual was saying that, you know, I can't afford it and potentially I might take my own life. It A, cut them off, and B, then stop their mortgage immediately, because it thought it was asking that this individual wanted to leave and end their mortgage, when it was completely the opposite. So as you say, I mean, this is the issue that we've still got. There's a long way to go, and it's exactly what Mike said. You know, is you have to have that human intervention at the moment attached to AI. You can't just let Gen AI go off on its own.
Absolutely.
These are the things that happen, and that, as you said, Mike, attaches to that reputational risk. So by throwing in AI in your company, it can absolutely decimate it if you have situations like that. There was recently, I don't know if you saw about the chatbot, that somebody, it was a delivery company, and somebody hacked into it and asked it, you know, I want you to write a song about your company. And it started writing a song, and he said, and please, can you also say how bad the organization is, because it doesn't deliver on time, etc., etc. And it made this song up. So
did it get in the charts?
And so there is that whole reputational risk that if you get it wrong, and that got into the papers, and so you've got to be so careful with it, and just your data, you know, going back to the very beginning, if your data is not good,
absolutely, GIGO. I mean, again, you know, I do feel, for me personally, and sorry, Penny, if I could ask yourself in a second, but I do feel Gen AI does feel different. It does feel amazing opportunities, and I think for us as interims is we're both pragmatic people who work with others in businesses to enhance performance, and our role in life, of course, is then to leave. But we also offer a consultative approach, the ability for us to have the knowledge to be able to say, you know, we're not necessarily getting involved directly here, but Mr. and Mrs. Klein, before you dive into huge expenditure, etc., we can offer a consultative advisory approach to them as well. Because, you know, when ERP came along, and I'm going back a number of years now, people with legacy systems all saw the weaknesses of the legacy systems, and then all thought, wow, you know, this ERP system's going to fix everything. It did and can, but it must be business focused. And I've seen ERP systems dropped on top of bad, poor performing legacy systems, but they got the business entirely wrong. So the problems they had in the past were multiplied tenfold, you know. So it is back to the human intervention. You know, let's just think of it sensibly. You know, don't be swayed by the hype, because the end game for all of us, whatever discipline we have as interims, it's people, it's about processes in the business, it's about the commercial side of the business. But people sit way at the top of this, and AI is merely coming in alongside, absolutely not to replace. Penny, do you have any thoughts, good and bad, or just general in terms of, say, Gen AI or indeed AI itself?
Yeah, I think the tipping point here is it's become accessible to people. So we've got Microsoft Copilot coming in, so everyone can start experimenting, which I think is good. Whereas before in the past, you'd have had to kick a big project off. And as we all know, the business cases are hard to get together and the external stakeholders.
Absolutely.
I think one of the disadvantages is also data security. So your large language models, ideally, you've got them based on your own organizational content rather than just in the cloud. So companies are nervous about that.
Yes.
So that's a big sticking point, I think, for people. And also now people are starting to experiment. I think you'll have potentially people putting organizational data into, say, ChatGPT, which I hear is there's mixed views on how safe that then is. So it's nice to ask ChatGPT something that's just write me a strategy for blah, but then what data is then going to start going in and is as
Yeah.
you need to experiment at grassroots, I think, across the organization, but it's hard to control that with my finance hat on.
That's an
Yes.
interesting point, because you could be sharing, people could quite innocently be sharing quite sensitive information in ChatGPT.
Absolutely.
I mean, my partner works for a film studio, and he's responsible for the security of all the scripts. And someone was just about to go and, you know, copy and paste their script into ChatGPT, which is just, you know, but the thing is, the naivety of people, you wouldn't think that's an issue, but actually you're sharing your commercial and, you know,
Absolutely.
secrets, right? And ChatGPT
Yes.
can learn from that.
Yes. Yes. And I think the other thing with AI itself, anyway, by definition, it's dated. I was surprised in some research that was done was it could be upwards of over a year old. You know, so again, people can, and we're in a market of seconds these days in terms of decision making and knowledge. And I think us as interims, again, is the opportunity to put both sides of it. You know, and sort of say it. I love sitting in rooms with vendors. You know, when it comes to ERP, for example, because God, they're great salesmen. It's probably the best I've ever come across in my life. I don't blame boards by being seduced, but you know, then just throw at them something off script and just then see how good they are. And I think that you know, the deal in our world, and I love the world of interim. I mean, I use technology, but as I say, it's people. It's the betterment of the business first and foremost, and if that is Gen AI, all good and better. But if it's, let's stick with legacy systems, let's stick with our current processes, but let's make them more efficient and more effective, then do so. You know, and it's just having that pragmatic ability to say, don't dive in, let's have some questions first. But it is out there, and it's unstoppable now, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, it's easy to build a data strategy, but then to actually put that into an organization is the big but or if.
Yes.
And that's where I think a lot of organizations will struggle and will need interims, because it's I say, every consultancy will be selling, we can build you the Tom on your AI data strategy, but it's then actually the implementation is going
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and I think actually that's a funny, you know, it's an interesting comment, because I think actually a lot of people are looking at interim support around data and their data strategy first and foremost before they even kind of get to that space, because like you said earlier, I mean it's a colloquial example here, but I love the AI generated pictures of people's teeth and hands. I don't know if you've seen them, but it's where you Google it, and it's basically, you know, hands with gosh how many fingers, and their teeth are just a row of, you know, 50 teeth basically. And it's because there's not the data there to actually help that you know, the AI create those images. And that's the whole point, isn't it? It can, you know, if you haven't got the data there, that you can't then. There's a phrase, isn't there? A very colloquial phrase, which I won't use, but you know where I'm going with that. So yeah, I think organisations will look for interim support around getting their data, you know, more mature, basically.
Yeah. I mean, Helen and yourselves, your clients, do you see your clients typically using their own internal data for running AI, or is there a mix, or what's your typical clients in terms of their approach?
For me, it's a real mix. So some have first of all have either brought in external resource, interim resource, or we have seen this year a lot more hiring permanently of a CDO. And then, as I said, building generally their own teams who are data scientists. So that seems to be, from my perspective, how most organizations are looking at the moment. They're not bringing in external software at the moment. They're using their own people.
Same, Helen, for yourself, similar?
Yeah, very similar. I think, you know, look, people are trying to build up a function, working with a client at the moment who you know, they're building up a new data function basically. But they are hybrid between using external, you know, and internal. So I think it's whatever the needs of the business are. You know, it just depends.
Sure. Yeah. Aldo, do you?
What I see, I mean, I work mostly with industrial manufacturing and engineering. I see a lot of efforts in the design, in the development of a product. That's where there is the major focus. Where in the other side, I think probably is more difficult and there is less knowledge is in how an organization can progress and maybe develop their people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where I think there is quite an imbalance because everybody focus on how can we make a better product that is great, but then a better product alone doesn't really is not enough. And
Yeah.
that's where I was thinking maybe but at the moment I don't have an answer, and I don't think there is an answer in the human side. How can they integrate?
Yeah. Penny, do you have any? I'm conscious of time for everybody, and I don't want to keep you too long, but Penny, do you have any other thoughts around this?
No, I don't think I have anything to add to what's already been said.
I think the key thing certainly is it hasn't changed the fundamentals, in my opinion, of what businesses are about and what they're looking to do. But if businesses, and I see a lot of transformation in as much as businesses are bought and sold and their cultures are entirely changed, new people, new different things. But if the core essence is there, and if it's right for the business, most importantly, if it's right for the businesses, customers, I always say not just customers, it's customers, then it's got stability. Because the danger is, and we see as interims, and I'm sure Aldo and Penny see this a lot as well, is this constant change sometimes because they don't like the past. That's all very well and good, but it can't put you into a worse position. It has to be for something like this, and it will be dramatic investments potentially, is think about it and look at the pros and cons and don't just be swayed. But there's pressure on the board every time. They have to make decisions. They know something currently is not working or something could be better. But I think the great thing for certainly senior interims, people who've got the experience and understand the businesses and we're there to work and support the businesses and see AI. And I'd close on saying that AI is a good thing. I'm excited by it. And I'm not an opportunist to suddenly say, oh, great, it's going to be loads and loads of money for us interims. It's back to basics in the sense it's for the business. And how can we support the business? It's a great tool. It needs to be done and watched carefully. Helen, sorry, any closing thoughts? We'll wrap up in about 5, if that's okay.
I think I'd agree with everything you said there. I think it's a high degree of pragmatism. Use it to the advancement of your business, but know that it's not perfect yet. And I think get your data in order.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really nothing to add. I think we've covered it all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And just for me to say my closing commercial, a brief commercial, Penny and Aldo, is just as I say, we are, this is hosted by Institute Interim Management. We are volunteers, and if people wish to volunteer for the board in various capacities, please reach out. And also people who are not, if you're not members yourself, then you qualify by being on this this great discussion, albeit a very cozy one. For a free assessment. There'll be no assessment fee, and you can see this on the website, which is iim.org.uk. There is a website out there. I came across it. It looks good. Has anybody come across? There's an AIforthat.com.
Nope.
And it is all those words together. There's THERES and AIforthat.com. I think that's I'd look into that. That's pretty good, because there's loads of stuff out there as well. But all it remains for me to say many thanks. Apologies, Helen, sorry for the initial hitch. We've fixed it. We know why now in future. And we'll look forward to holding these again. They're going to be 8 in the mornings or 12 lunchtime once a month. But any other thoughts you have, please reach out to us. So thank you and wish you a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Pleasure talking to you all. Pleasure. Thank you.